celebrating 3 years of bringing you the very best in LGBT talk programming. This is QTalk America.
If I would actually turn the mic on, it always helps. We've always got some mistake going on. I'm Joe DeGanzik.
And I'm Babe Kaler.
And this is, as I do air quotes for anyone listening in the audio world, this is the last regularly scheduled Joe and Babe show here on QTalk America, as we're going to soon be having lots and lots of changes that will go on. And we'll talk more about that later in the show. It is a lovely, I don't know what it is, it's out about 100 degrees or so, probably 102. It was supposed to be in the 90s, but at the end of the day, it was a bit warmer.
Right.
And Babe and I, you
were trying to tell me it was cooler outside today.
I said get a jacket,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, right, sure.
So anyways, this is the show where for the past several years we have brought you all kinds of guests, information, news. We started out in Arizona, we expanded to the nation and planet, and now we're going to be changing things up quite a bit. And that's kind of what I wanted to just briefly state, because there's been information and misinformation out there about what is going on with QTalk. People have heard, oh my God, the studio's closing. Maybe the whole thing is closing. The entire network is not closing. We are closing the studio. We've had a number of challenges trying to make this work in a sort of a financial and economic world, and have been unable to do so. So therefore, we're making some changes and responding to the demand of the consumers.
Give them the tea, honey. Tell them what it's all
about. We're going to go more in depth later
on.
This is a special elongated show. Probably about 2 hours. No, our in-studio guest, you don't have to be here for the whole 2 hours, of which we'll introduce him in here in a few minutes. But just for everyone, QTalk America is changing. We've got lots of things going on, but at the end of the day, it is not going away. We'll go more into that. So outside of that, how the hell are you, babe? I haven't seen you in like 6 weeks.
You know, I'm doing well. You know, lots of things have been going on with both of us physically, mentally right now. Today, Mama's okay. All right?
You're
today,
okay.
Mama's
just
okay.
Today.
Today, I'm okay. But it's getting better. And we're going to talk about those kind of things later, too. But it does get better. You know, I've got some back issues I've been dealing with. But today, the whole left side of my body is pain-free. Knock on some wood and on my head. Okay. Oh, good. I like that. All right. And kids are back in school. For all those listeners out there,
would that be the most wonderful time of the year?
You know, who have children, yay for us, okay?
Right.
I'm excited about that. And you being on campus
all
this
the
year,
kids came back to school a couple days ago.
Yes, and were you...
I lost my reserved bike parking spot.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm. It wasn't reserved.
Yeah, but you thought it was, wasn't
it?
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't have to park much differently.
Yeah,
but
are there lots of sites to see so far on campus?
There are plenty of sites to see.
I bet I'm going to have to
But you know what? It's inspirational.
Yeah.
It's inspirational.
I'm going to come visit you on campus.
I think
because
you need
I'm
to.
sure that
you need to come
there are
see
sites
Harry Potter
to see.
Hall.
Okay,
I told you about that.
Okay, give us a little insight on that.
We'll go into that a little later.
Okay, Harry Potter Hall. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And you, other than adjusting to
moving and kind of getting out of downtown. It's nice, actually. As weird as it sounds, it's nice to be in the suburbs. Even though Phoenix really is one gigantic city.
It is.
It really is just one gigantic metro area. But at the end of the day, you know, coming back into here, it's like, oh my God, there's crazy turning traffic people and all this stuff that you got to deal with. It's a little milder out in the suburbs. It's not. And it's not like moving to the sticks, obviously, but it's Tempe, you know, but at the end of the day, it's a little bit different.
That's as long as you aren't really around Mill and University and that area, because that gets quite congested.
It's crazy. And there's construction.
And sometimes it's like it can bring out that like rage that you didn't realize was there until some student walks across, and then 2,500 others decide to walk right across too at the same time. Okay, but we all love ASU, so
it's good.
Yeah, we do.
Go Sun Devils.
So, yay.
And all that.
Okay.
College stuff.
Cool.
Well, speaking of college stuff, because we had been talking about this, and then I finally contacted him, and we kind of worked all this stuff out. I think we should not ignore our in-studio guest, although Baby's leaving the room, probably to get a cocktail.
I'm not.
She's not. She's probably she's accepting a cocktail. Yeah. What is she serving?
Gin and juice. Okay.
Oh, can I get some champagne? Okay. Champagne would be great.
Champagne.
The sweet stuff.
The sweet stuff.
We have our wonderful bartender,
No,
Dixie
thank you.
Flatline.
We're going True Ghetto today.
True, yeah,
because
right.
It's the end.
It's the end, of course.
It's the end. So, yeah, my friend and I, Dixie Flatline. Is that the sweet, Joe? Is that the sweet?
It's either Moscato. It's not the silver one.
Okay.
It's the the gold one.
But Dixie
I'm so
Flatline
demanding.
is in studio today and does wonders as our mixologist on numerous occasions, and again is joining us since it's the final day. And we were talking earlier in the week and how we, all have certain parts of talking about being in the city or further out.
Yeah.
Girl from Cali, girl from deep South Georgia, and we've got these deep connections, which really helps us to see that us homegirls hanging out together. Okay, gin and juice is something that gets you there. Okay, it gets.
Does she need a towel?
Okay,
I've got a towel if you need one to open that without without it hitting like the No, the towel's in here.
Where is it?
It's right here.
Thank you.
We're just
Thank you. Okay, Patrick, we're
play
so
along
sorry.
at home if
Please,
you're in the if you're only on the audio stream.
Right. But see, you can see
But,
us.
yeah,
See,
you
we're
can
getting
see us.
this right.
That's
we're
right.
Getting this right.
That's right.
God,
and
this
as
is
we
good.
as we get into it, please join us in the chat room at QTalkAmerica.tv or through the phone number 888-791-9294. You can reach us that way as well. And that's also, we'll talk about that later. That's going to be changing next month as well as we kind of additionally make some adjustments. But anyways, let's do this. Shall we introduce our guest?
Go for it.
All right. We have to switch camera views. We want to welcome to the program our last major guest, Dr. Patrick Grzanka from, and I've been trained on how to say this, Barrett, the Honors College at Arizona State University, of which, yes, transparently, I am an employee of. Welcome.
Thank you.
Dr. Patrick. Do
Thanks
you
for
prefer
having me.
Dr. Patrick or just Patrick?
Patrick will work.
Okay. Your students call you Dr. Grzanka.
Absolutely.
Right.
Always. I tell them that I don't have a real name or friends. So they only call me Dr. Grzanka.
Okay, see? It's like, don't call me nothing but.
Nothing
okay?
but, yeah.
See? That's it.
All right. So you are a professor. You're technically the title is Honors Faculty Fellow, which
Yes.
all these fabulous titles that they give these people at universities. So what I guess who the heck are you really? who is Patrick Grzanka, and why did you decide to do what you're doing? We'll go into a little bit more of what your work is, but who are you?
That's a big question.
We have a lot of time.
We have 2 hours today.
Did Bill.
See?
All right.
See?
Go back to the beginning. I'm a sociologist. I study emotions and mental health, and I came to Arizona State in fall of 2010 from, is that right? Fall of 2010 from the University of Maryland, College Park, which is where I did my graduate study and undergrad, as a matter of fact. I was there for 9 years, and I lived in D.C. for most of that time. So talk about a transition. When you said that Phoenix is one big city. I thought to myself, well, when I first moved here, I thought, oh my God, Phoenix is one big suburb.
Okay.
Well,
but I do have to say though, I'm a proud Phoenician and have enjoyed very much my time here over the last 3+ years.
So you grew up on the East Coast?
I did.
Wow.
I did. I grew up in Maryland, the great state of Maryland.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're both from the East Coast.
You're from Georgia?
Yeah, I'm from Georgia, and
I'm originally from Florida, but it was like so long ago. I don't remember that much. But technically I am. Born in Miami.
Yep. And then New York.
And
So,
originally from, parents are from New York. So, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Westward bound, all of us.
I know. All of us. Yeah, making those changes. Making those changes. So continue. Tell us why ASU, before we even get into what your research is.
Exactly.
Tell us why ASU and coming there for the position that you have.
Well, it's the job I got.
Okay.
I graduated. I finished my PhD in fall of 2009. And I entered one of the worst academic job markets ever. And that is not to say that I wasn't, that's not a reflection of my placement. I'm thrilled with my job. But it was it is very, very hard to find gainful academic employment right now, especially in the social sciences and the humanities, which is where I work. So I was pretty thrilled to get this gig. And that's why I'm here. Yeah, it was a good fit. And fortunately, they liked me.
All right.
ASU is a national and international leader for interdisciplinary scholarship and interdisciplinary teaching. I mean, it's a campus that is organized by schools rather than traditional academic departments. And what that means is that people at ASU are encouraged by the university administration to work together across disciplinary boundaries and to think about solving problems rather than simply doing what academics are trained to do, which is just sort of ask kind of redundant questions and develop very niche interests that aren't relevant. So at ASU, it's about asking important questions to solve social and environmental problems, to make the world a better place, and to work with scholars from across the campus who have shared interests but maybe don't have the same degree as you do. So that's one of the things that I think works so well for me there, and why I've been so happy at ASU, because it's a place that encourages that kind of thinking rather than impedes it.
Right. And in this day and age, if you really look at it, interdisciplinary studies is the way to go, to be a true worldly,
fully rounded,
individual,
well-rounded.
I agree
to
very
learn,
much.
to interact, to converse, all of those things which are vital to everyday existence. And I think that's great. Coming from a private women's college, having that opportunity as an older student there who was seeking all of this knowledge, and it's coming in from so many different directions. And I'm like, wow, I'm learning this, and that connects with that. And why didn't anybody tell me that if you did this, you could do this, and it all works together? I love that. I just love it. It's great. It's great.
Well, it's very it's sort of endemic to universities, but it doesn't make sense to the public, to like real people. Why two different scholars researching the same thing, like let's say sexual orientation, identity development, but one of them is a psychologist and the other one is a sociologist, and why they wouldn't be working together, why they wouldn't teach on the same faculty, why they wouldn't collaborate. And at lots of universities, the way that they're structured is to separate on the basis of disciplines, and it doesn't lend itself well, I think, to doing innovative problem solving and thinking in more complicated and nuanced ways about stuff. So
ASU is definitely taking some new paths, and by like you said, it was only a few years ago that they reorganized a lot of the university, and I didn't even know this until I came on board as a staff member. But it does really make sense. People may see it as controversial or way too different, too fast, but I think it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, now, what about obviously you're stationed mainly at the Honors College
at Barrett, yeah.
And so, how does that affect? You're teaching mainly, which is what is in Barrett is called the human event class. Is that pretty much everything you do, or obviously I'm guessing professors and academics do much more than just what is, asked of them.
Yeah, well, so on paper, the human event, which is the signature course at Barrett, it's the first, all first-year students and transfer students, I'll talk about first-year students. All first-year students take 2 semesters of this course, and it's an interdisciplinary survey of important ideas. That's how we talk about it, from antiquity to the present. So it's a big course, it's a hard course, and we put all of our first-year students through it. And that is my number one job responsibility, teaching a couple sections of the human event each semester, teaching it well, ideally, and mentoring students through their first year. But as you said, I mean, that is just a part, really, of what I do, though it is the most important part according to ASU.
Of course.
The rest of my time is spent researching and doing service, but primarily being a researcher. So whether or not that means applying and trying to acquire external grant funding from the National Science Foundation, which has funded some of my work, publishing, writing, researching, getting rejected, doing it again, and again, and then finally getting it accepted somewhere. And I know we're going to talk about that a bit today. And collaborating with scholars. I mean, so almost all of my work is collaborative, and that means that the things that I publish and the grants that I get and the projects that I'm working on are with scholars not only at ASU but around the country. So I work with people on both coasts and in the middle and all over the place. I don't have any international collaborators at this particular moment.
Oh, well, after this show today, you just might, because we do have international listeners.
We do.
Well,
and
that's very exciting.
See,
and they're seeing you.
They're going to see you.
That's right.
And hear you, and who knows? Who knows what'll happen after
New
this?
Connections.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
And that's a lot too of collaborating.
Yes.
It's
hugely
and for
important.
people to hear about what's going on. You talked briefly before we went on the air about just getting back from a conference.
Yeah.
Again, making those connections and reaching out there to others. What did you speak on while you were there? Or were you just a participant?
No, I did speak when I was there, actually, about some LGBT issues. I was on a roundtable talking about my project on psychotherapy with LGBT clients. So I'm in the middle. We're not so much. Our findings are just sort of emerging, but with a colleague of mine, Joe Miles, who I do a lot of work with, who's also my partner, we are studying an archive of videos that are being used to train psychotherapists in how to do good therapy with LGBT clients. And we're interested in this data set to understand kind of where the current state of LGBT psychotherapy is, and what people are, what psychotherapists think is the appropriate way to engage with LGBT clients, what their goals are, what makes a gay issue in psychotherapy. So I was talking about our sort of preliminary findings and what we're thinking about with this project.
And are you finding that more and more people in the field of psychotherapy are realizing that not that you are reinventing the wheel, but that they have to be more open to listening to what might be a little bit different in the way that they have to function?
I think that's very well put, and that's a lot of what we're finding, that at least in this set of training videos, which are developed by leaders of the field. So they're sort of the authorities saying this is what we think good LGBT therapy looks like. But a lot of it is about applying the basic helping skills that all therapists are supposed to have, but coming to the table with a more open mind with regard to what sexual identity is and how it affects other aspects of an individual's life history. So one of the things that, at least as a stated goal that we've found, is that people really want to make sure that therapists don't assume that they understand what sexual identity labels are and mean. So that when the client says, I'm a lesbian, that may mean something a bit different for the client than it does for the therapist, who in most of these videos is sort of presumed to be straight. So anyway, yeah, that's one of the things that we're thinking about.
It's interesting that you say that, because there was just yesterday, the wife and I were talking about, and something came across the screen on television, and there was this woman who and you don't want to stereotype,
Right.
but if there was a picture of a big old diesel dyke, this would have been it, okay? But most people, as we looked at this woman, and I said to my partner, okay, dyke, and she said, you don't know, I'm a big old diesel dyke. And I was like, okay, but see, if someone else had said that, you know, would it have been just because, you know, being a member of the community is like, okay, because I identify as Leslie Dyke queer. Okay, and so I was putting a label on somebody else, but yet I was chuckling about it, the fact of that she was, but girlfriend was a big old diesel dyke, okay? But people are afraid of labels, don't want labels, don't talk about how we label ourselves within the community. But I just thought that was interesting how all of those things actually do happen, and those who aren't members of the community, how they see us, or how they refer to us, or how they try to interact with us because what they have learned from others, you know, can be a truly interesting thing, you know.
How do things work? Because I'm guessing with, you know, the human event, which is humanities and so forth, and with the work and the studies and research that you do, and you're an out gay man, how does that affect the classes and the students' reactions? And do you delve into, as you get, I guess, closer into more modern history, perhaps, do you delve into some of these issues within the LGBT world for them? And I mean, obviously, students, you know, again, this is a generational thing where people are just much more cool about and accepting about everything these days. So how does that affect things, and what do you see in the classes?
Well, I think that my students would probably be the best ones to ask about that. You know, I have a perception of how my identity influences what I do. I should say that I don't just teach the human event as well. I teach a queer theory course, an advanced LGBT studies seminar each semester as well. And in the spring of this year, I'll be teaching. I have a soft appointment, which means it's just sort of a label. I'm affiliated with the Center for Biology and Society at ASU, and I'm going to be teaching a course on science and sexuality, which will trace the history of how sexuality has been dealt with and managed and studied by scientists from across the discipline. So that's going to be a really cool class.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm very excited about that.
I want to come in and sit in on that audit. That one, that
cool
sounds really
one.
good.
It's going to be great. Yeah, from like very early sexology through contemporary studies of sexuality. So that's a great class. But so, you know, it's obviously in whether I'm teaching queer studies or you know, the science and sex course, sexuality is the object of study of the class. So it's not a matter of it sort of coming in and out. It's always there. That's what we're doing. And the students know that. Now in the human event, I don't know. I mean, again, I think that my own students would be the best ones to ask. I'm sure that some of them, they're pretty savvy. You know, these honor students are.
Happen to have some on the line right now. No,
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. I would freak out.
Okay, I was gonna say, did you see that look on his
No
face
way.
just quickly? Just for a quick minute. Okay, we got you, didn't we? Because I saw that. I saw
would
that.
die.
Okay.
I would die.
But, you know, it's interesting, though, because we talk about that. And one of the things in being a seasoned individual myself, growing up in...
I just still don't have a sound effect for that.
For seasoned?
It's
yeah.
like
I like that.
frying
I'm gonna
pan,
borrow
like
that.
I'm a
cooking, you know?
seasoned
I'm feeling
individual,
increasingly
you know?
seasoned of late.
You know, but I remember mid to late 70s, and people were talking to me, and what do you want to do? I want to teach sex education.
Oh.
Okay, and I want to be involved and spread the word about, you know, what's going on and what you can do and feelings and emotions and everything. And then to realize that as years went on, not only being aware of sexuality and sensuality, but bringing in LGBTQ issues and issues involving sociologically people of color and where we are in that, and how we don't talk about, do talk about, or you hold back. And here I am, a threefer. I say woman, black, and gay. Okay, I've got all of this stuff. So it really sort of came around, over the years that truly I'm doing what I said I wanted to do. And that's with working with LGBTQ youth. And most people know that's how Joe and I met.
That's right.
Through a youth serving organization for our gay youth. And then to be able to do things like we do now on the air and be able to bring topics up such as what you're discussing, things to get better. And, we've got, bringing out entertainment and the arts and what we do and the fields and strides that are being made politically. All of these things sort of come under that big umbrella of life and the studies of us that we need to get out there and have archived and put somewhere so that the younger generations do know how you got to that study or what brought you there, and going on. So
well, I think that's all really well put. The human event is a course about human experiences, and the study of sexuality or discourse on sexuality did not begin in 1960.
Right.
Yeah. My degree's in contemporary American studies, and so antiquity makes me nervous just because I don't know that much about it. So my course does tend to lean a little bit more contemporary. But the first thing that we study are the ancient Greeks, and so sexuality is there from the very beginning of my course. Whether or not we're talking about relationships between male teachers and students in ancient Greece, pederasty, which was a common practice, it is not the same as what today we would call homosexuality or that we identify as gay men. But this was a very accepted normative social practice that shaped Greek life and the knowledge that we got from the Greeks. As well, if you're reading one of the first plays that my students encounter is Sophocles' Oedipus and then Antigone. These are plays that are about sex and love and violence and romance and families, and so sexuality is always there, and just like race, just like gender, our modern understandings of those categories are of course different when we look back and see how different civilizations have approached these kinds of identities or even thought about a word like identity. But I think that pretending as if these issues are only relevant when it comes to contemporary social issues gives our students the misperception that sort of in the past everything was much simpler, and of course that's not true.
True.
Yeah.
It's like going back, and I use this as an example all the time because there's so many things that have been going on for so long, and people haven't acknowledged or don't pay attention to, because blacks weren't gay until they start hanging out with you. Okay, once blacks start hanging out with white folks, then that's when we started being gay. Okay, yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay, and it just that was a good one too. Go ahead. That was good.
I like that board.
But yeah, it's but things like that we really have to make sure that, whereas we have been somewhat sheltered, not exposed to, research was not truly done and are talked about, that we get that out there so that people know and will have now something else to continue going with.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Speaking of reading, why don't we take a short break for a sponsor? And now I can actually say more emphatically about this sponsor, which is Audible, which we've talked about before.
Right.
We got a check in the mail a couple weeks ago from them that this has actually been working. We drill this into people's heads every week, or every time we have a show, and a few of the other shows on the network. Who here, and of course, you could eventually be listening to an audiobook that Patrick might write on Audible. You know what I mean? You never know. Audible is a fantastic place to get audiobooks, and they're a part of Amazon. And some people enjoy reading but may not have time for it. And so that's the thing about Audible, is that you can get these incredible audiobooks voiced by fantastic voice actors, or possibly even the authors themselves. We'll put this up on the screen so you can actually see it. And what we want you to do, not right now because you're listening to this or watching this show, you can go to audibletrial.com/QTalk America, and get a free audiobook. They're not going to take away from you. When the trial expires, it's just yours. And there's over 100,000 books in their library, hundreds of which are LGBT titles. And it's owned by Amazon, so you know they're not going anywhere. Amazon, of course, like revolutionized the whole book, kind of publishing industry and in ebooks and whatnot. But Audible is a fantastic way of getting, say you have a commute that's an hour and a half.
Okay, if I had an hour commute,
you would go crazy.
Thank you.
You'd be living in Southern California.
Thank you.
That would be a 2-hour one-way commute, but you'd
Right.
have time to listen to your audiobooks. And it starts and stops, right on where you left off, depending on what, no matter what device you're on or whatnot. So fantastic service. When you give a little love to them by simply signing up for their free trial, they give us a little bit of love. And so we actually got a check in the mail from them. So we thank them for their support of the various shows here on QTalk America. And we just want you to go there, and I'm saying that even more emphatically now because you know what, heck, this works. You tell people about a great service, they sign up for it, and hey, it all goes to a good cause, which is maintaining everything about QTalk. And this will be even more important in the future as we make some changes.
well,
But I was just like, that was so cool.
That was really cool, and that was a good segue. And I was going to go into this, and we'll get back to Patrick on his aspect of this.
Mhm.
But as changes are going on with QTalk, that's just a little brief thing there of going on, and Audible coming in and talking about the changes here. Part of our changes, sir, are the fact of that not only with us not being here on, every Saturday between 1 and 2, that other things are going on, but we're still continuing to look for people like Audible.
That's right. We're going to
Thank
continue
you.
to be looking for sponsors of the various shows. And if you would like to reach an audience that is, primarily LGBT, but there's the Q and the A and all the, all the rest of the letters of the alphabet soup in there, we are the place to advertise on.
Right.
With multiple different shows, in our collection in the archive, and with web advertising, with so many different opportunities. And you can simply get a hold of us through the appropriate page on the website, or probably get a hold of us through info@qtalkamerica.com.
See, segues. Look
Segues.
at how we work this. Okay,
We've done this before.
It's our last day, and I like too that you
Last,
had
that's right.
to put today's show as number 1,000.
Oh, I didn't even mention that. I said,
Yeah.
you know what? We don't know what. I mean, it was probably somewhere in the low hundreds, but I just said, let's just throw all the different numbers together of
Yeah.
all different shows that we produced. It's episode 1,000.
Right. Saturday, 8/24/2013. Joe and Babe, the last show.
And we say the last show because this is why part of what we're doing is we're changing the format of the network a little bit. And some of our shows that I happen to start, such as this show, are going to go back into sort of the podcasting world. What that means is there is no schedule, and Babe and I just might call each other and record it. There are so
Right.
many ways to do podcasts, and it has become a very crowded market. Not that we're not a part of that market, and not that we're cool and super amazing, but as more people enter it and more people can do shows, it gets harder to have that voice that's a little bit stronger than the others. We'll go into more of that stuff later.
Yeah, but we are cool and amazing.
We are cool and amazing.
Thank you
That's
so
right.
very much, because I am. Okay. I
And-
even put on makeup today just because.
Where's my little where's that
Okay.
little sound effect? Anyways, we'll
For
find
cool
it.
and amazing.
Well, it was blast. Where was it? I just can't find. Well, we can do that. There's that. Oh no, here it is. There we go.
Here we go. That's it.
You're,
Cool and amazing.
you're
Okay.
beautiful.
So,
Pixie dust.
so what do you think so far, Dr. Patrick? It's like, what are you thinking? That
He hasn't left.
we
We haven't scared him away.
That's what I was gonna say. We haven't scared you away too
No.
much so far yet. And
No.
the sound effects and everything that we've got here, it's like pretty comfortable, huh?
It is, although I did think it would be pre-recorded and edited.
We do have we used to do that.
Do you you do the podcast though? So you have to. You do
It is a
that,
pod.
right?
Nope, we don't edit. Everything is unless
See?
something is really bad.
Unless somebody says something that's like
just,
really messed
we
up.
gotta just get rid of it.
Okay, I mean, like really, you know how you get that delay when somebody says something.
Yeah,
Actually, I was watching The View the other day, and Whoopi said something, and it was just like,
Yeah.
and I said, "Dang, I really wish I knew exactly what she said." Although I think I know exactly what she said, but it was like, oh, that was good.
I'll be on my best behavior.
Okay. Oh, don't.
Excellent. Yeah, don't. Yeah, it's
don't.
fine.
I mean, I know you got your students to think, stuff, and this will be archived, and they can pull it back
They
up.
can do you.
But that's okay. Okay, be you.
You can tell them. You can tell them the story on Monday.
Right.
You know?
On this show, you can be you, and they can go and look it up. See
That's right.
what you talked about.
We have a comment from the chat room, which is always great.
Yes.
Randall, of course, from Equality Radio, heard exclusively here on QTalk America 5 days a week, from 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific. Dr. Patrick this is Randall's from I'm going to get it wrong. It's not San Luis Obispo. It is San Luis Obispo. Yeah, my bad. Anyways, SLO, California. He's our Pacific Bureau. Dr. Patrick is very interesting. He has a new fan from California.
Oh, that's nice.
Where we have terrible commutes, except for mine.
Okay, see? So, in saying that, see that again, we're talking about how people hear and they learn. Tell us a little bit about the things get better.
It gets better.
It gets better. Yes, it gets better. And what you're doing on that end, because we know in working in the community as a whole and working with youth, that it's really important to get that message out there, even though to some it might seem like, what are you saying it gets better? Because it's taken forever for it to do that.
Yeah, well, so this project, this article that I have that's coming out in the journal Sexuality is either later this year or early next year. You know, things move slow in academia, but it is available online if you Google me, and it gets better. You will find it.
We can put it in the show notes too.
Yes.
Great. I want people to read it and engage with the work. I also want to recognize my co-author Emily Mann at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, who worked with me on this project. But this began actually right when I got to ASU, and the reason why my work on It Gets Better started with the emergence of It Gets Better. I mean, so I was teaching my first semester in my first academic job postgraduate school, and there was all of this press about young gay men, young white gay men almost exclusively, killing themselves at college. And Tyler Clementi, the student at Rutgers, was the big case that got a lot of attention. Yeah, so my interest was actually first about queer youth suicide. I mean, I was alarmed, not only about the deaths, but about the media's uptake of the deaths, as if so now we really care. So last year in 2009, when all these kids were killing themselves, that wasn't a worthwhile story. But now we're really worried about this, and it's interesting to watch. I mean, this is what I study, how media kind of create and frame crises, and how particularly mental health issues become a locus of attention. So I remember talking to my students and saying, there are resources for you. You need to understand that you're in a safe place. This is not, suicide is very much a part of lots of people's lives, especially people who experience multiple forms of discrimination and oppression in institutions. But, I'm here and there are resources for you. And just as I'm giving this message to my young freshmen, Dan Savage starts to say it gets better. And then we have this massive multimedia explosion of discourse around this concept. And then the foundation is formed, and the project and the books. And I, I'm doing what I think how most research projects start, which is having conversations with colleagues about what you're finding interesting, about something that you study. And since I study mental health, I was talking to Emily, and we were both like, this is really weird. Like, what's going on here? What is this movement, and why is it such a big deal? And that's how it began. fall of 2010, spring of 2011. And I'll tell you personally that the moment when I knew I had to study it was when I was finding myself in the beginning thinking, this is really trite, and I'm trained to tear this apart in 90,000 ways. And yet I was at the gym, and the Google commercial, the Google It Gets Better commercial came on, which is one of the most commonly viewed videos on YouTube related to It Gets Better. And I got chills when I was watching it, and I thought, okay, well, so even me, like, I'm supposed to be the professional skeptic. Even I was moved, at least in that moment. Like, it got me, the affect of it all, the music, the visuals, the emphatic cries for people to know, don't hurt yourself, life will improve for you. That could get me emotionally, made me think, okay, well, I have to study this. Like, clearly we have to look at this. And I wanted to do it with Emily because, well, she's super smart, but she also comes to the table with a slightly different perspective, and I thought that would be useful in analyzing the videos that the two of us together could come to. She's a sociologist of reproduction, for example, so I thought that we could think, in interesting ways about the project. And so now it's an article. I haven't really said much about what I think about It Gets Better and all of that, but part of that is because one of the things that I want to say right off the bat is that I think sometimes people who have read our work or engaged with our work think that our point is that, like, to vilify It Gets Better or video makers, and that is absolutely not the case. I am deeply invested in LGBT mental health issues, and anything that supports the emotional lives of queer people, I am game for. But I also simultaneously think it's important to be critical and to think critically about things that get really popular and sometimes then aren't thought about critically. And It Gets Better presents a lot of different messages, so that's another thing that we found in our research and that we're very careful to state in the short article. I mean, it's 25 double-spaced pages. That isn't actually that much space to say something about a huge phenomenon and situate your work in the literature. But one of the things that we're very careful to note is that It Gets Better is not a singular video or a singular message. It's a large community of lots of different people, from major celebrities, corporations, politicians, and unknown people, who maybe make a video that only 2 or 3 other people watch. All of those people are part of what gets called It Gets Better. So there isn't a single message. Nonetheless, there is a message in the videos that we were concerned with, and that message has to do with middle class values, I think, that are deeply racialized, around the idea that if you find ways to kind of endure heterosexism in your youth, that when you get older, after you have gone to college, after you have acquired a great job, after you've left the community that you currently live in and go to a city where everyone will love you magically, and then when you get a partner and you engage in homo monogamy, and all
you
of
get a
these
dog
things,
and the white picket fence and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I mean,
everything
of course, for these gays, it's going to be like a condo with stainless steel and
2.5 kids, 2.5 kids
dogs
and a dog
Yes.
and a cat. If you're lesbian, you're going to get both. So.
Yes. Clearly. So all of these things are going to happen, and then somehow, like,
it will be better.
Well, like, heterosexism is going to go away. I mean, I guess that's sort of that was the initial question. It's like, well, okay, well, it is a weird word. So what is it? And why are all of these things that are associated with the upper middle class the way that they're going to get better? And why is it that we're not telling young people coping strategies besides, like, wait, which is sort of the message. It is kind of the message, and I read most of that 25 pages. I guess I probably skimmed through it, but anyways, I did agree with you, because it's the message sort of in general, saying that, it's going to get better. I mean, my life got better after I came out and after I, kind of went through all that stuff. It took some time, but it got better a little faster than waiting for like 15 years. But it is sort of like, okay, where's this place that we're supposed to all get to, that we're there, like it's better now, it's great. I mean, is that 50 years from now? What society waits, and it is, and I think
I think it's important for people to be realistic about it. I think that's probably an important term, because I guess for some people, this is not necessarily a great thing. Maybe it might not get better. It might not get better for a while, no matter what you do, right? You could be stuck in a bad part of the country, and you might not be able to move. Like, you might be stuck in a bad family environment, and you might be stuck, I have a friend of mine who will remain nameless. He came out recently to people that he was concerned were not going to accept him, and it was actually a little bit better of experience than he had imagined. And he came out kind of later in the game than most people in their teenage years, it seems, these days. And I was proud of him, and I was glad that it went better than he expected, because at one point he just said, I'm just not going to do it. But he eventually just said, I've got to do this. And I think in some ways that's a little bit part of that it gets better thing. When you come out, it's get easier to help more people, and life seemingly gets a little bit better. But sometimes you can't do that. You just can't do that.
Well, I think what's interesting too, in talking about how you all got started on this research and this whole avenue, for one that's been working for over 20 years now with LGBTQ youth, that's my message that's been out there all along. And like you said, in 2008, when this all information came out, 2008, 2009, that it does get better and things are going to change and it's going to be all right and you can do this. And it's like, okay, those of us who are members of the community are those of us who are trained to work with youth in the community, and we know that that's the message that we've been talking about all along, and trying to get across. And yet all of a sudden, because of the mainstream media, it was the thing, and all of a sudden the numbers were out there about the youth that were taking their lives, or the families and how they were being treated or mistreated. And then all of a sudden it was like there, and it was like, okay, I've been doing this already. So what's up with that?
What's new?
What's up with that? And to hear these stories and know that there are those who are out there making a difference and trying to spread that word. And just because all of a sudden everybody else decided to get on the bandwagon, it's the thing to do.
I mean, I think that's one of the key questions, and I think that's the nice way of saying it. In many ways, what I really should say is probably that one of the key criticisms of this notion of like, make a YouTube video, tell people that their life is going to get better if they get these things, and like, don't hurt yourself, is a really passive form of activism. And you mentioned 20 years of experience working with LGBT youth, also being trained, because it's not that easy. Like, right. Actually that doing that kind of systematic intervention into a community is a nuanced and complicated process that it needs to involve experts and lots of different people who've devoted their lives to it. I mean, is it to say that like people shouldn't have made the videos? No, of course not. And that's also not my job to say. But I think that there's something interesting about the tremendously positive uptake of the movement, and the way that might communicate to people, that simply saying to young people, deal with it, and I promise you that things will improve, that sends a message not only to queer youth that we might not want to be sending, but it also sends a message to people who are not queer youth, that's enough, that like doing that's enough. Just telling people that their lives will improve, it is equivalent to challenging heterosexism. And I don't think it is. I think it might be a part of it, but I don't know that it's an end point or a goal necessarily for us to be saying that that's activism.
Well, I think that brings us to as well, because we know that in the midst of all of this going on, and the numbers were out there and they were getting seemingly higher, the suicides that we were seeing, I think the numbers were there before, but no one was really
looking.
talking
no one was paying attention
about
to
it or paying attention to specifically that it had something to do with our youth and our community. Mm-hmm. And then as we go on and we saw that the numbers were there, and then in the middle of telling these stories and still seeing that there were more, and it seemed like every month there was one or two or something going on, and it's like,
and the spotlight
continued. It's like, okay, is it because someone started talking about it that this is now brought to the forefront? Or were those numbers really always there? And nobody they didn't talk about it because they didn't know how to express their feelings about, well, that kid committed suicide, and I really think it was because he was gay.
Yeah.
And
or that young lesbian that had been bullied for years and through junior high and up until her junior year, she killed herself last week. Mm-hmm. Did you hear about that? And these stories in all of the areas, whether it's rural or urban, were happening, and yet no one was acknowledging the depth of the youth that we were losing.
Well, one of the primary critiques coming from communities of color and queers of color was that the outcry against queer youth suicide coincided with the sense that the critique was that, so when queer people of color, when poor queer people are killing themselves, that's bad, but that doesn't spark a moral panic. What creates the moral panic is when young white boys who are imagined to be the people for whom it must get better.
Right.
When they take their lives, then that means the system is broken. And that is not to say that the death of Tyler Clementi isn't as sad or tragic as any other person's. But what was interesting is that his death seemed to seem much more important to the general public than all of the working class and queer youth and kids of color, for whom the suicide rates tend to be disproportionately higher.
Right.
So that was one of the points of concern. So what does this mean that we want to make interventions in big, large-scale interventions only when we see whiteness sort of destabilized, or when we see that these white futures for these men who should be the ones for whom it would get better, when their lives are interrupted, then we want to make an intervention. I think that similar critiques have been lodged against the icon status of Matthew Shepard, for example, in the discourse on hate crimes, that when young queer kids of color and queer people of color generally are victims of violence and murder, that our mainstream media does not tend to take up those hate crimes in the same way. A lot of attention is given to people for whom we see these kinds of tragedies as like abnormal. Right. And that logic, I think, inflects itself and it gets better. I think it structures it gets better discourse.
And I say this, and I say it because in a lot of ways, in so many different areas, and this is coming as, again, using my term, a seasoned individual that grew up in the Deep South, in the middle of the Civil Rights Movement, is that I see a lot of things that are typically WMP, which I say white male privilege, that people don't want to acknowledge, that's why things are happening or have been happening or that are going on, because it has become such an acceptable thing in the U.S. of A. Mm-hmm. And then when you bring it up or to the fact to say, do you think that might have anything to do with that? Because you are, mm-hmm. WMP or just white privilege altogether. People then want to become upset or offensive.
Yeah.
That I can't believe you said that to me. I have black friends. I have black gay friends. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't do that. Okay, step back and let's take a look at this all the way around. Because, I mean, we are, no matter how much progress has been made, we're still a little bit behind on a lot of things. And more progress needs to be made. But one way to do that is by presenting the situation, discussing the facts, communication, critical thinking, okay? And let's do the next step.
Yeah. That's exactly
That's
it.
I'm almost curious if, and this, they may have started working on it before the It Gets Better project and all the videos came out, but we've seen all of the anti-bullying messages and all the bully movie and the other. I can't remember the name of the other bully movie that was out recently, but it seemed that almost launched during the same time or shortly after all of the It Gets Better. It almost seems like, and again, none of these things are bad if wonderful, great things come of this. But it's, again, this seems like it's like the cascade effect of, you bring one thing into the spotlight, and then people, I think, are able to bring another project out there and say, you know what, we need to deal with this other issue. And there's things about the bullying as well, because I think, okay, bullying is not, it's almost being treated in the spotlight as it's this new thing. I was bullied in school,
Right.
It's been around for decades. It's not good. Some people just think it's a part of childhood and growing up, and I think perhaps it should be mitigated. But then again, what do you really do about it?
It happens.
It does happen. You
It
can't
happens.
control every inch of the planet.
Right. And I look at things too. It's like, we know that bullying has been around for a while, and I mean for forever.
Forever. It's not decades. It's forever.
Forever. And growing up, myself in the bricks, growing up in the projects, in the deep South, when a lot of racial tensions were going on, but socioeconomic tensions within the own communities of color and communities as a whole. My grandmother dressed me well, even though most people wouldn't have known that she made pretty much everything that I wore. She cut the patterns out, she designed it, she put it together. We lived in the bricks, but I was always clean. I was well fed. We had all of these things going together that were supposed to work for us, but yet anyone else would have looked at, oh, wow, she should be oppressed and feeling really bad about where she came from and what's going on in her life and what she's doing. And life for me was just great and grand, but again, people look at different situations and try to put it all in one little basket when we can't do that, because there's so many different things that have gone on or that affect each of us individually. We got more people in the studio. I was sort of looking back there. That's pretty darn cool.
Loving the live studio audience.
That's great.
I know. But so it's the bullying aspect isn't new, because I was trod upon because, well, why does she look like that, and why can't she come and play out in the dirt, and what makes her so special? And our hearing is, she even talks different than the rest of us. Okay, I'm from deep South Georgia, and I got that little slur going on too, just like you all and everybody else, but it's really amazing how people don't recognize or won't recognize things that are going on.
Well, the bullying discourse is really interesting to note that it does happen, as you said, Joe, concurrently with It Gets Better. So we see this explosion of talk about anti-bullying campaigns, and that bullying is the social problem. There's a storyline on Glee, which at the time was super popular.
It's
all about bullying. And so they got kind of wrapped up in one another, the bullying discourse, and It Gets Better. And it really, I would say that sociologically speaking, they're kind of inextricable. They reinforced one another. But there's a lot of critique in academic communities and among progressive activists about bullying. That is about bullying discourse, I should say. Nobody wants bullying to happen, but how we deal with it and how we think about it is where there's debate. And I have some colleagues at the university at San Francisco State University who've just gotten a huge grant to do the Beyond Bullying project, which is really about pushing the way that we think and talk about violence in schools into I think a more substantive place. I mean, bullying is a kind of placeholder, I think, and the dangers in talking only about bullying is that then maybe we don't talk about racism, or we don't talk about sexism and these structural forces that work through bullying. So bullying is in many ways the symptom of much larger structural problems. C.J. Pascoe wrote a very important book called Dude, You're a Fag, which is based on her observations with young school children really abusing one another in school spaces. But what she finds, and I think the primary insight of that text, is that much of what we think is about what we might call homophobic bullying manifests itself all around gender. And what I mean by that is that the boys who get called fag in school, or the way that that word is deployed and the way that people become targets of bullying, it doesn't happen usually because the person who's getting called a faggot is doing gay things, like for example, being caught having sex in a bathroom. Right. The reason why this person is being targeted is because they don't do what in sociology we'd call heteromasculinity well. Okay, so they're not performing and being a good enough of a straight dude to fly under the radar. so this person whose gender performance doesn't match expectations of what a straight American man looks like, that's the person who becomes the target. And so if we talk only about homophobic bullying, then what we wind up not talking about is how sexism plays such a profoundly important role in how we understand relationships and how people become the targets of discrimination and violence. Likewise, of course, race inflects itself and influences all of our understandings about what like being a good straight person looks like as well. And there are different expectations for people of different races and et cetera. But so that's one of the things, I hope that makes sense, but that's one of the things that I think people are critical about when it comes to bullying discourse, because it can turn our attention away from the fact that what we're talking about is like misogyny, right, and we're talking about racism. So why aren't we saying that?
Right, and also comes in classism and sexism,
absolutely,
and ageism and ableism, and all of that comes to play. And in addition to the work that I do within the LGBTQ community, my work is very much based in just human rights and equality all along. I do work with the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, as well. And these are all the things that I have made a concerted effort to bring all of those issues together to say, okay, people, you got to look at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and W, X, Y, Z to get to all of this, to realize it's not just one little area, and because we have to expand and explore all of it, because it is all interconnected.
Can I plug my book?
Please do.
Please.
So my book, which is called Intersectionality, A Foundations and Frontiers Reader, will be published in early 2014 by Westview
Say it
Press.
again. What's the title?
Intersectionality, A Foundations and Frontiers Reader. It is about the history of what you just talked about. That is academic and activist work that began in among Black women in the United States, particularly Black lesbian women, who said that we need an accounting of the way that all of these different parts of social life shape human experiences and that shape oppression. And so this book charts the origins and the futures, I think, of this movement in all of the different ways that it's been articulated.
Yeah, I was just watching. We have studio audience.
There's a child.
Viewers there.
Yeah.
There are children.
Studio audience, please feel free to wave hello. You're on the camera now.
And here comes Clayton.
And now it's Clayton McKee and.
Another drink.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So, but yeah, all of that stuff works together. Hi, gang. How are you all out there waving at us from
romper room here
okay,
well,
Quit it. Come on in. You're escaping, aren't you? You're escaping. I saw that. Okay.
These are my friends. Some other,
No,
one other person I think who also works for the college and her family.
Okay. Well,
Marty seems so short. This chair is almost on the floor.
Okay, so we have now in studio with us, in case you all didn't see or not viewing, you're only listening.
Dear.
Okay, Clayton McKee from
I listened from home as
show.
long as I could, and then I decided that a celebration of you two. Well, no offense, we got to ramp this up.
Okay, see, okay, all right, wait. And
Well,
then
that's why we're going multiple hours.
That's why we're doing
You're
multiple
already in the
hours.
second of the multiple hours.
Okay,
so
Right.
see,
Yes.
we're burning candlelight here, girl.
Okay, and in case
Cheese and rice.
Okay, and in case you didn't know, this is Clayton McKee from Clayton's the show.
The show.
Okay,
Oh,
all
yeah.
right.
Great to meet you.
And
Patrick, as I heard earlier, your name is.
Yes.
So.
okay, and he has a 3-hour show with
My goodness.
yes,
On Tuesday
3
night.
hours on
Yeah,
Tuesday
and
night.
it's not safe for that audience right now. I'm telling you that.
No.
Right, for
Uh-huh.
sure. Okay.
I'm telling you that right now.
So, but we're still doing cocktail hour here. Cheers.
Absolutely.
Thank
Right.
you.
I haven't
Cheers.
chosen to put Crown in my
Yes.
diet yet, but I will.
Cheers.
Cheers,
babe.
honey. Okay,
Absolutely.
cheers.
Across the table.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
Dixie's already
mixologist.
offering to get me
Okay.
juiced up. That's good to know.
All right. Well, see, did you hear the part that I said that we're sort of doing this semi-ghetto? Okay. Gin and juice.
I have so many
Okay,
remarks
to
I know you
make.
could. I know you could. I was waiting for that.
We're
Okay,
taking
but-
pictures
okay,
of us
all right.
in the
But anyway,
flash is going to not work well through that.
We're going to
glass.
bring it back to our in studio guest today to say that we are very excited about the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you
it's
very much.
Wonderful, and I am excited about the upcoming book.
Thanks.
And
I'm psyched for it,
there's
too.
just like so many things that you're doing that people need to know about, and you've got a great stepping stone as a professor there, doctor.
Yeah, my platform.
Yes, and I was trying to decide if I was going to go if you're Dr. P or Dr. G.
I think it's Dr. G.
Dr. G.
I feel like that's
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 it?
my
That's gonna
students.
be
That's
it?
what they
That's what
sometimes
they say?
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds more like a rapper name, too.
Doesn't it?
does.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Dr. G.
Dr. G.
Dr. G. Okay, I like that.
It'll be the title
I
of my
like
first
that.
album.
Okay, see, but wait, you just dated yourself, even though you didn't intentionally do that.
Ugh.
Because what'd you say?
I said it would be the
Uh-huh.
title of my first album.
What do you
Right.
say now? It's my
Okay.
my first download,
My first,
my first MP3.
Yeah, my first CD.
Yeah, there you go.
that's it
Yeah.
now.
Well, now
It's like-
CD, you're still dating yourself too with that because they don't. Everybody's getting away from that. The kids don't even know what a CD is.
Okay.
It's so weird.
All right. So
Right.
what would you say?
I would still say album. I mean, because that's
That-
my
but
album
era.
or
that's us,
record.
but that's us.
Because I'm only
Okay.
a couple years younger than you.
Right, but that's us. Okay, what would you say over there in the corner, lady?
They're gonna drop their first single.
Oh, that's true. That's
what
a
I'm
good
saying.
one.
You go with your bad self
That's true.
because that's it. That's exactly
do
what
drop
they say when they
singles.
drop their first single.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Exactly.
Wow.
All right. Okay.
So we're not. Please feel free to stay the entire show if you'd like, but we're not kicking you out at all.
We're not kicking you out. We're
but we had
very-
reserved about the first hour for the main guest.
So please.
But where can people outside? Are you on Twitter, Facebook?
Yes, I'm on
Um,
Twitter. My handle, is that what it's called?
Yep.
Your Twitter handle, yeah.
Yep.
It's
Or if you have a CB, it could be your CB handle.
Quit it. That's your Midwest talk there.
I love
Okay.
Smokey and the
Wait a
Bandit
minute.
movies.
Okay, I love it. How do they reach you, Dr. G?
I'm at Dr. Grzanka on Twitter, but it's DR.
Just like it's spelled. Spell it like it sounds.
GRZANKA.
There you go.
That's it.
See, you had it easy with us, okay, to start out,
Yeah.
Yep.
because now with the
Now all
addition
hell
of
breaks
this
loose.
one,
Close, very close.
okay, and this one in studio,
getting a little wild
ooh,
here.
it's gonna get crazy now, okay? It's
Yikes.
gonna get
I'm just happy
crazy
this one
now.
didn't bring toys today. That's the last time
Okay.
I was in the studio
Oh,
with
God.
her.
Oh, yes.
Dixie brought toys.
For the kids.
No,
We're gonna use-
actually,
Not
I
for the
brought
kids,
the
no.
toys and we discussed them.
Different sandbox.
Yes, it was.
More fun toys.
Yes, it was. It was. Uh-huh.
Hokey smokes, Bullwinkle.
Okay.
Wow.
Cool. But I want to jump to something real quick. Because
Okay.
It's something that I want to be sure to talk about, seeing that this is the last.
Quote unquote last show.
quote
Yes.
unquote, Joe and Babe show. Is that we've just been nominated for individual
I
awards.
totally didn't even put that in the
Okay.
show notes.
I saw
and,
that.
by
Congratulations.
Equality Arizona and
Perfect timing
uh,
for you to go off the air, I think.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Perfect
Isn't
timing.
that great?
Yes.
I was like, wow.
Exactly.
They know, okay.
When
they,
you accept these awards, you're going to be
they
like,
just like, oh.
well, we used to.
We
Yeah.
used to do
Never
that.
mind.
The
Yeah,
network's still
thank
around.
you.
You can listen to Clayton.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but the thing of it is, it's like we said, we could always do something in.
Well,
it's
right.
Like,
That's the thing.
So, but I thought
Podcasting.
that was very.
Now, my
Very
question,
nice.
of course,
Yes.
is if because they're like they'll tell us. Obviously, I think probably ahead of time.
I hope
Do
so.
we get to go for free? if we win.
Oh, for the love of Pete! Really, you're going to get an award, and you're worried about the economics of getting there.
Okay,
You're
well,
already
Okay.
producing no carbon footprint with the car that's going to get you there.
Okay,
for
right.
God's sakes. So just
Okay.
I work with the university. We don't get paid a lot.
Okay. But I'd
so
rather-
does he. He's got an Apple
Okay.
device just like you. He's got two of them right here. And I do appreciate the beverage from McDonald's.
Yeah.
Diet Coke by
Diet
chance?
Coke.
Atta boy.
Oh,
God
see,
bless you.
cheers.
It's
look
much
at that.
better when you put Crown Royal in it. I'm just letting you know that.
And you do have something
Oh,
in there. I saw
heavens,
that.
yes.
Okay. All right. But anyway, I wanted to be sure to get that out there so
Yes.
that people
Thank
know
you to
for
Equality
their
Arizona.
upcoming dinner. And Dixie's in studio, and I want to be sure that we get information on her current endeavors
And what
that are
happened to
coming up.
what happened to what's her name?
Lynn
To
Ames,
Lynn Ames.
I was hoping we were going to get a call in, but let me give you a little information for my forever busy lady there and what she's doing. She's been traveling. She had staples in her head because she hit her head on the cabinet in
Ow.
her kitchen. And when she came up, literally it just like, she thought she had like, just
A
hit
little
it.
hit,
Yeah.
a bump.
Yeah, like multiple staples in her head, okay, that she had to do. And then her dogs have been missing her. But she's doing a big book event. And, as a local writer and...
Hope she'll be sitting down during this event.
during that, right. But there's going to be a concert as well. And this is scheduled for September 21st. And it's going to benefit the area agency on aging. So for those of you who are connected with Lynn Ames, that's LYNNAMES, who is a local writer, lesbian writer, who also publishes herself through her publishing company, Phoenix Rising, I do believe is what it's called.
I'm going to pull up her website here
Yeah,
in one
but
second.
please check her out and look for this upcoming event there. Also, it's the 50-year anniversary of the March on Washington.
Mm-hmm. Actually, they're celebrating today. I was saying that
Today,
earlier.
there's going to be a march downtown Phoenix. I'm getting a little stuffy now, but anyway, my thought on that is a historic event. It's a historic day, which is somewhat being tainted by local politics. And I need to let people know that. You can be involved, you can be supportive, but when an event is being sponsored by a local minister who has done everything to be sexist, racist, homophobic against one of the local people that's running against them in District 8, it makes me mad when they are the ones who are one of the sponsors of the March on Washington celebration.
I agree.
That's all Mama got to say about that, and I hope that somebody tells him that I was talking about him underneath my breath. Thank you so very much. Okay, did you get it?
I would just send him a little link to the site, and maybe he could watch the show.
Okay, well, wouldn't that be great?
yeah,
But he
won't.
probably wouldn't.
We could just have
Yes.
Joe edit just that clip out and just
Yes.
mail that to him.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know, but
Well,
and that's for those who are local ministers, as well as those who are publishers of a local black publication, to do everything to slander someone because they're black and gay and running for office. That's all I'm going to say on that. Anyway, let's go on.
Would you like
then.
Would you like a decongestant, babe?
I know, it's getting worse and worse.
Don't know
It's
what's
getting
up with
worse
you,
and
bro.
worse. I know,
You
it's
started the
getting
show.
worse.
You started the show with the left side of you being fine and perfect, and now
Okay,
you're
and now I'm
congested.
She's
congested, but
falling
that's
apart.
okay. This next cocktail will do it. Do it. God,
So again, speaking,
right.
our good friend Lynn Ames, lynames.com.
There we go.
LYNNAMES, and there's a picture of
And
her.
she's so cute.
She's great. We
She
had
is
her
cute.
in the studio at the previous studio location,
Right.
Studio 3. The third
What?
generation studio.
Studio 3.
This
Okay,
is
what's
Studio
the next
B.
studio going to be? What?
Oh,
That's
because it's Studio
an
C,
It's
Is
an
it?
Uh-huh.
Did you
undisclosed
decide to do that?
location.
I love that.
Studio
I love
C.
That. I love that.
and we'll just wherever we're. You know how when the president flies and whatever thing he's in is Air Force One.
Right.
Wherever we go, wherever we'll
In
always be in
Studio
Studio C.
Okay. That's it. I
Because
love it.
remember the "See you next Tuesday" portion
Yeah.
of the show.
Yes.
That's why.
All right.
So we
see?
can go into a little bit now because the rest of the show is just kind of whatever. And
Are you staying with us?
the. It's up to
I
you.
can.
Stay
Okay.
with us.
Feel free.
This one said I was boring.
Okay.
No, the topic. I didn't say you. The topic.
Okay. Stay with
Though
us.
I understand the necessity for it, but a celebration of these two wrapping up after so many years does need to be tainted by
Academic research.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of big words that I had to look up while you were talking to Joan. I'm like,
I love
whoo,
it. I love
heaven's
it.
sakes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so we're going to do an It Gets Better for the last 45 minutes of this
Yeah.
show. It's going to get better than
Okay. So
gonna get better
tell
than
us,
that.
what's the next step?
Yeah.
Where are we going? What's doing?
We
What's happening?
are closing this studio location.
Oh, my God. Sell it harder than that, Joseph. Cheese and rice. We are merely downsizing.
We are
Thank you.
we are
I love
changing and we are adapting to the demand of our product. If we want to say it like a
Okay.
commercial, if we want to say it like a commercial business, we're saying that we have worked this for many years on many different angles. I started podcasting out of sheer boredom 5 years ago. And at the end of the day, eventually it transitioned over to QTalk Arizona and eventually to
Right.
QTalk America. We put together these studios. We brought close to 30 people involved at the height of this. 30 people were involved in producing and
Wow.
creating and so
That
forth.
many?
That many.
Is that over the span of time, or is that at one point?
At one point, we had close to 30 people from all the hosts and the engineers and everyone who was involved
It's
in
a
this.
shame they all would have contributed.
I know. Thank you. Okay. A dime.
This is an expensive sandbox.
Okay, a dime.
Right.
Okay,
That's right.
a dime. Ownership, but anyway, go ahead.
So, anyways, this has definitely been an experiment, and I want to talk because number one, because I've had some time to think about how to address some of these things, and instead of just coming on here and ranting and raving and so forth. So, number one, I want to thank, and I'm saying this like thank you, but again, we're changing. We're not shutting down. We are just to get that across to everyone. We are not shutting down.
In spite of popular demand, we're not shutting down.
Right.
But this is also, people question sometimes why their favorite businesses or entities or organizations make big changes out of the blue. And they don't, it just happens. And this is why, we don't share a lot of this stuff with the public, but we make changes. We had to come out with it, and we didn't want to spook everybody. So we're making these changes, and we're putting the information out there. So we are making changes. But first of all, to all the people who have been involved, because heck, hell, crap, fuck, I could not have done this myself. I started this as a single podcast nearly 5 years ago as my own personal thing to talk about what the heck I was having for breakfast that week and what I was doing.
Those were stellar shows, by the way.
That was
Right.
fantastic.
Grape
Right.
Nuts and Cornflakes were fantastic
Right.
show
Okay.
titles.
And eventually I saw that there was a decline in podcasts and LGBT kind of media stuff going on in the Phoenix area and in Arizona. And I said, you know what, I could do something that would replace that would do better than what had been done before. So my personal show was rebooted into something more for the community and was less about me personally. And then ultimately I said, you know what, we should expand this to multiple shows, and we do all these different topics, and we can increase the audience and do all this stuff, which ultimately attracted more people into the throes of this organization, and ultimately it became QTalk America, and we have this studio. But I couldn't have done it myself. There's
You
just
only had
no
half of a
way.
drink, so quit. Go ahead, finish that. 'Cause
So-
you only have one.
It gets
So
better.
what I'm saying is, for everyone who's been involved, no matter how, for the people who left in bad graces, which we haven't had that many, to everyone else, thank you so much for being part of this grand experiment that we call QTalk America. I couldn't have done it without you, your energy, your talent, your time, your resources, and recently your money putting into this to make all of this work. We couldn't have done it, and so there's just nothing else that I can say than thank you.
And then, and to add in that, you never knew what you were getting when you asked
Absolutely
me
not.
And then Clayton to come along and get us two on board.
And we,
I don't recall
Oh,
being asked. I think
okay.
I forced my way in.
Okay,
he
right.
did.
And
We
then-
interviewed
I was
him,
gonna
and he's
say-
like, "Where's all your equipment?" Oh, and I think that a light bulb went off in his head. we could do this. And
right.
and this is
I can overtake this, is what I figured. And
he did.
finally,
basically.
finally.
Okay, because he grew up in radio.
In a radio.
Apparently
Yes.
in a radio.
In a radio,
Somebody
right.
believes I actually grew up inside of a radio.
Right, okay.
It was a big radio, apparently.
So the other thing that happened along the way is we wound up, this was not in the mission statement, we relaunched radio careers
Right.
of people, and we turned other people who weren't even involved in this into hosts and engineers along the way. So even though we didn't set out to do certain things, and perhaps we haven't had billions of downloads, we've had a percentage of that, and we've had a loyal audience for the time that we've had. We've grown these shows, and more people have joined in to the network. But at the end of the day, we did accomplish a few things that we didn't even set out to do. And now I'm going to turn to the other side.
Okay. Bring it up.
I'm talking about community building. QTalk America is an exact example of community building. We have built our own community, and we have never told anyone, unless they didn't meet reasonable standards like having good audio quality and so forth, and this was just syndicating shows. We never told anyone that they could never be part of the network. We never closed the door. We didn't do that. This was an exact example of building a community.
And to that point, we're still not doing that. Though the changes are coming, we're
Correct.
still not saying no.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely. But to the people out there who just never heard of us, we can't fault you. It's either a fault of people being too distracted on Facebook or not sharing the word or whatever. But to the people who did hear about us and chose not to share the word, to people who knew about us in various ways and chose not to get involved for reasons that were not just on sort of pure incidental, to the people that we reached out to who specifically chose to not give us the time of day, who chose not to help us. That is an example of not building a community. And to those people I say, what the hell is wrong with you?
Okay.
Because these types of ventures, led by a person like me, who was bullied as a kid, had a tough growing up, XYZ, all those adjectives and all that stuff, for me to eventually come around and, sure, it's easy to launch a podcast and eventually sort of follow through on a plan that kept evolving and eventually launch this entire network and a facility and whatnot with the help of tens and tens of people. This doesn't happen all the time. You have to support these things. Otherwise, they will adjust, shrink, and possibly, because we don't know what the future holds, these things could eventually die. You've got to support these types of ventures. And I say that because QTalk America was never about me. QTalk Arizona was never about me. My previous show, which had a name that didn't make any sense to anyone, Nidocast, that was about me.
And breakfast cereal.
With breakfast
Yeah.
cereal
Breakfast cereal.
and so forth. And you could listen to the shows which are not available anymore, thank God. They're in an archive somewhere. You could listen to them and you could hear the things that I was talking about, which would eventually become various shows on the network. But this network and QTalk itself was never just about trumpeting my own horn and saying, oh, I'm so cool because I launched this network. No, it became a platform for others to do great things. And for me, looking back on this and launching it to where it is today and where it is going to become tomorrow, this is like the coolest thing I've ever done.
You know, and Joe, we have to give props to you not only for doing this and bringing this to the community, but also for all of the different types of programming that we have offered here on QTalk America, which we talk about the fact of that there's many voices in one network.
One network.
And because we have a variety of things that we brought to the table, is that we came into this and with the idea of being able to share to the community a lot of different aspects that maybe people don't talk about or things that don't happen or that, but we have always maintained a bit of decorum that maybe other organizations in the Valley have not shown. We can bring you information on all of the different groups, organizations, events, activities that are going on as a neutral individuals, even with all of the different shows that we have brought about. And one of the things that I think that's very important to say in that aspect, it's like a saying that was out there from a shaman medicine woman, is that together we struggle against one another. We must become inclusive. We need to learn once again to live in a sacred manner and in a harmonious manner, and to show that how we're all related in that sacred hoop.
That's right.
And we have continued to do that. We at QTalk America have continued to bring things to people, bring it to the forefront, and not let people feel like we were just tooting our own horn, even though sometimes we did, here
That's
and
right.
there. And everybody does that occasionally. But, we were here to make a difference. And I think we will continue to do that. And I think you, with the vision that you started out with, look how far we've come. And we
That's
need
right.
to give you kudos for that.
Well,
okay?
I appreciate that. And along that line, I have a clip that I want to play.
Okay.
And it talks about
I'm a
people,
little concerned right here. I'm going to tell you. I'm a little concerned.
people like myself who do things like this.
Okay, let's see.
Roll it.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
No, the first thing I would ask is that copyrighted material, because we have issues with that. I can't play 5 seconds of an indie song on my show without YouTube freaking out.
We found it on YouTube.
See?
And if they pull us down, fine.
Okay.
But we haven't had that many of that kind of thing happening.
That was really good, though.
I am proud to be part of a little bit of the crazy ones who will do things and execute on ideas until I feel that it's been done. So here's to the crazy ones.
All of us here in the studio right here, right now. Crazy. Crazy.
Girl.
Cheers.
Actually, you know what I was thinking about
No,
this?
I'm good. Thank you.
Crazy. As in, I was singing Patsy Cline right then. I was just went into that whole.
You became a middle-aged white woman?
I did.
Congratulations, babe. That is a
Thank you, thank you.
transformation.
Okay. It's like at that particular moment.
Yeah.
Okay,
Not just transgender, trans race at that point.
Right.
My gosh.
I went there.
I don't think you can go for a white transplant.
Okay, that was pretty good though, wasn't it? That's okay. Feeling a little bit like Patsy.
Now,
okay?
now that was of course released by Apple in the late 90s. Now that version was a version that didn't come out until a couple of years ago after Steve Jobs died. People discovered actually that he had actually voiced it as well, but decided not to use his own voice in that commercial, which was the Think Different commercial, because he wanted the commercial to be about Apple and not about him. So it had been voiced originally by Richard Dreyfuss, but that was actually Steve Jobs. And I was thinking about that because I saw some people hated it, some people loved it, and my reaction was pretty decent. I saw the Jobs movie last weekend. It was pretty good. It's a little over dramatized, and some people like or dislike Ashton Kutcher with a passion, and I have neither a good or bad on that.
Choice Awards
You know what? I thought it was a very. I think go see it. You know, it doesn't. It's not the entire story, obviously, because that would be like a 15-hour movie. If you really want the whole story, go get the official book that I read within like 3 days straight, because I spent like all day reading it. But the movie ends with him recording that, and I just thought, I'm part of the crazy ones. Who the heck launches a freaking media network and says, damn it, all this stuff that happened before and all these things that went on before, I think that we can do this better and we can do this differently. And we did. And we're still doing it.
Pioneers.
That's true.
And so, without tooting my own horn, yes, I, with many people, we have put this together and we're going to continue doing these type of shows, or other people are going to continue doing them. I personally, while I never sit still, and that's why I never go to a vacation like on the beach, even though I would love to just do absolutely nothing, I have placed a moratorium on my involvement in very large projects over the next 6 months so that I can have a personal life.
I hope the people at ASU are listening.
Right.
Well, no, I still need to work for a living.
Just don't give him any large projects, people.
Right.
No large projects.
Personal projects. I will be doing some smaller projects to have a big impact.
All right.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook and all that other stuff if you don't already. So just look me up.
Okay, I want to bring it back around and talk about some other stuff that's going on, because we also have got the...
Apparently this is the Babe Kaler show. I'm not sure how this is...
Well, she's the second word in the show, so
No,
I'm just gonna continue drinking my drink here.
And I'm on my... this cocktail is really working because, I'm doing a little gin and juice in case nobody got it earlier today. Gin and juice. And probably Roscoe's afterwards. Just
my.
Okay.
But we could do Lolo.
She's gonna continue the party.
See?
Roscoe's is a bit of a drive.
Okay. No, Roscoe's right around the corner.
Oh, I'm thinking Roscoe's back.
No,
Oh.
Roscoe's is right around the corner, and they have great wings.
Oh, that
and
Roscoe's.
that Roscoe's.
That Roscoe's.
Your local gay sports bar. Roscoe's on
okay.
7th.
Chicken and waffles. I'm sorry.
But I want to go into a couple other things that are in the news, and we're talking about celebratory things. New Mexico gay marriage.
Yes.
I think that people need to, if you haven't heard, you need to Google it, people, okay? Go and find out what's going on in the community. I'm a little pissed off with the Olympics in Russia right now, but we have to take that whole thing into the fact of that. Do you protest? Do you not protest? Do you make your voice heard? And how do you do it? That we need to, in going a little bit further into, things are a little better now, but where do we go from here? So many things happening. The president acknowledging the impact that Barrett made in the March on Washington
really
and with Dr. King, and the celebrations that are going on there. Check your local azcentral.com to see what time the actual rally and march starts here in downtown Phoenix today. But no, the story of Barrett Rustin is very, very important. It's a voice that was silenced. It's a story that not a lot of people know about. The impact that a gay black man made in this historic event. He planned the March on Washington, people. He is the one that did it.
And didn't take credit for it.
And didn't take credit for it. Dr. King was the one that gave the fabulous speech that had done a lot of the groundwork, but Barrett Rustin was the one that did it. Okay? One of the other things that we need to really highlight right now that's going on in the Valley, and people have not acknowledged this, PetSmart just day before yesterday.
Yesterday.
Was that good?
Nice segue.
Oh, that was good. Did a $50,000 grant to 1 in 10 and the outdoors
Really?
gay camp.
Well,
So for
applause for
all of the
that.
kids that go to gay camp, and for PetSmart to be as supportive and out there as they are of making a difference in the lives of our youth.
50,000. That is
That's
fantastic.
and going specifically to gay camp.
Does that mean the kids can take their pets with them to camp now?
No, they can't do that because now that would be really weird. Okay, because No, they can't take their pets. But I was really happy to hear that PetSmart had done that.
I was, and I don't know what was behind that, but I was surprised when I saw that because it seemed to come just from out of the blue.
No, they've been supportive of the organization. They did a big promotional thing earlier this year where a lot of the kids from 1 in 10 were in one of their ads. They actually came and used the kids at group and did one of their major sponsor ads for them. And then one of the people was involved with getting a feeding program for the youth in the afternoon. So they have slowly but surely been more and more committed. So, but that's a big deal. It's
huge.
Yeah, that's a really big deal. So, just little things out there.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of out there, Dixie, do our in-studio, our guests know there's bottled cold water in the fridge?
I mentioned there was grape juice.
Well, the one laying across the lap doesn't really care right now. He's out.
There's grape juice.
There is cold bottled water in the fridge because we know that side is not air conditioned. So,
Toasty.
Baby.
but anyways,
I know.
just so that they know, they can hear
So
us.
we said we were going to make this to.
Well, we got 25 minutes to
I
just
know, I
fill
was
with
gonna
blah
say,
blah blah.
okay,
We don't
right.
have to. That's the beauty of this. We don't have to be 2 hours exactly. We can just eventually. We should. Yes, I agree.
I feel like I need to let you guys celebrate yourselves and
Okay.
and not be
Oh,
the
honey,
fourth
we're-
wheel on
we're
Oh,
celebrating.
whatever.
We're celebrating right here, right now.
Well, she's half in the bag, so that's
Okay,
part of
that's
the
what I'm saying.
celebration.
Okay.
And other than when we
That's
kicked off
just
this studio when we built this, I don't think Joe's had a drink since then. So he's he's a little tipsy there.
Okay, right. Okay, he's at
Yeah.
half of one glass of champagne. Okay?
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
wild.
Right.
Because I just had a protein shake for breakfast, so it's like
Oh,
I
geez,
can't-
we're back to breakfast things again. See, cyclical. We're just going around.
Isn't that
Full
wild?
circle. Full
My
circle.
gosh.
That's wild. Yeah. So, but that's all I got today.
Well, that's all right.
Okay. I'm just gonna sit here and drink my
You're gonna drink your-
Welch's grape.
There are other
Welch's
shows on the
grape.
network that don't have any idea where they're going, so why not
And,
just join in?
But it wouldn't be the one that comes on Tuesday night at
Mm-hmm.
okay.
At 7,
Okay, at 7.
7 to
it
10.
is, okay, and we can give a plug on
we have
that.
a loose structure. We do.
Okay, go ahead.
And a lot of
Go
booze.
ahead. Talk about it.
Yes.
Talk about it. Okay.
Well, I'm glad in regards to the QTalk America Network. Obviously, you told a brief description of how I became involved. You guys stalked me for I don't know how long it was and asked me to come in and just simply do an interview.
That's
and
right.
Do an
Right.
hour show.
That's right.
Right.
On which I don't recall.
That was at Dr. Dingbat's place.
Ooh, you can say it out loud.
Hey,
okay?
it's the last show.
She's
Right.
and it will again, like you told him earlier, it's going to be in the archives forever.
Right.
So
That's right.
Okay.
Dr. Dingy can listen in.
Okay.
She's the reason for our disclaimer for the drinking game, by the way.
That's right.
Anyway,
That is true.
she was the reason for that.
Yes.
Yeah, she thought we were all going to burn in hell because we were promoting a drinking show. Whatever. Anywho,
Okay. Anyway.
that show wasn't that at night? It seemed I don't recall doing that
It
during.
was, yeah. It was.
was,
We've
yeah.
switched time slots. And,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Because
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I don't remember it always being
It
on a
was at night.
Saturday.
It was like Wednesday nights or
Yeah, something like
Wednesday
that.
night, yeah.
Because I remember it was dark.
Yeah.
That's all I remember.
It was
No
like
offense to you,
October.
babe.
That's
No.
okay. It's okay. I don't take it
Partially
away.
dark.
Okay, thank you.
Anyway,
The black woman was in the house.
the interesting
That's
thing
okay.
was, like you said, I remember walking into what your studio was at the time and seeing that you ran everything from a small soundboard and I think at the time 2 or 3 iPads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Or
was it.
iPods.
Yeah.
So that was a surprise to me. And then we moved from that studio to the one on
24th,
on 24th and Thomas, which the restroom, by the way, and be glad you weren't there because the restroom was a football field away. I mean, you had to,
Yeah.
literally. If you had to miss a segment,
sure.
you were going to be
You're
gone for
done.
30
Okay.
minutes. It was
Right.
right.
Over the hill and through
Right.
the woods.
Yeah,
and-
it was
oh
it
my
was a
God.
little brutal. So just to see what you were able to do with so little in regards to the equipment and so forth, and obviously now the enhancements that you've got, it's crazy to me that it has developed into that. But I'm excited to say, I mean, again, QTalk America is not going anywhere. It will exist online.
Correct.
And as we've stated to other people when we made this announcement, if you want to contribute, you want to do your own show, you can sit in front of a laptop and record a show if you've got that passion, if that's what you
right.
want to do, and it can be uploaded and it can be on the thing or the thing. Wow, really, I'm technical.
Yeah.
It can
All
be-
of the
it can-
technical resources
Are
that we've actually built for ourselves, all the online resources are available, and they're actually they're a couple light years ahead, I would say, of the rest of the industry.
Right.
So we take, and several podcasts have come to us over the years because they didn't want to deal with the technical aspect. and they joined us, and we're like, okay, here's all the tools. There you go. And for now, anyways, here's a studio. So
I'm thrilled to know that basically I'm moving this from where we are in Studio B
to an undisclosed
to
location.
an undisclosed Central Phoenix location.
Right.
And we will continue my live show every
Correct.
Tuesday night, 7 to 10.
Without skipping a beat.
Without skipping anything. God willing, with the move goes well. This moving crew you alleged was going to come in and do this, they made me laugh. He made a posting. It's like when the crew starts moving, I'm like, who the hell is that?
Yes, and then I later commented, I'm like, yes, us.
It's my truck.
It's us.
It's my truck, for God's sakes.
I always have to make everything sound bigger. Why do you think we expanded into a network?
Well, if you'll remember, during my show, I welcome everybody to we're broadcasting live from the QTalk Plaza.
I know, right? Yes, we've taken over the entire real estate.
And I'm trying to sneak this in underneath because we do have ears out in the studio, but you all always have a tendency to talk about size. Okay, I just thought I'd throw that in there. Okay,
I don't think you should throw that in my direction at all.
They didn't catch it out there, but everybody else did in the big girl size and boys. And you got it too, didn't you? Okay, thank you so very much.
Well, Dixie always talks about size.
Exactly. See,
You know, it's a recurring theme.
Really
And
well
now
with you
we're
earlier.
going
no, it was
downhill.
tame.
Okay,
It was
that
tame,
was
very
tame, wasn't
tame.
it? See?
Thankfully, we're uncensored. I love it.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely, which is another wonderful thing. I actually wondered the other day if I could go back into regular media, because
I doubt it.
only because
no.
But you do have. I mean, I think we all know. Like when we were growing up, when you first started using words that weren't necessarily
Right.
permitted, if you will, by your parents, there was an automatic switch in your head that you knew you could say this word in front of mom or grandma.
Right.
But when you were just amongst your friends, the switch went on and off. I'm pretty sure I could go back into that mode. If
Yeah.
I was on network somewhere, NBC, whoever, I think if I was sitting behind the desk doing that, it would just switch.
And they could still bleep you out.
Not if you're live.
They have a
hard.
delay.
Well, they do, but I mean, if you consistently are sitting there, good
Well,
morning, welcome
yeah.
to the Today
They'll just
Show.
fire you.
F you.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Right.
You will no longer be welcoming
Right.
people to the Today Show.
No.
So I've thought about that, but it is such a freedom to be on an internet radio like this, because you're not regulated by the FCC. You can say what you want. You can call the people who deserve to be called a C. So there's so many advantages to that. I mean, really. Jan Brewer
Yeah.
deserves every critique we give her.
That's right.
Ooh, yes.
That was good.
I can get on board.
That was good.
You
That
can or
was
can't?
good.
I can get on board.
Okay, get on board with that. Very good.
Okay.
Dr. G is in the house with that one.
Okay.
So I'm excited to literally swoop this up and move it, and I'm hoping that it'll be it's going to be a pretty identical look, which I'm thrilled with, and to be able to take the technology that over time you've just enhanced and enhanced and enhanced, and you can do so much. And actually, I know that there's so much more to do that you can do with it than I've even jumped in to
Right.
do at this point, because I can't get my cast to shut up long enough to even play a video.
And personally, I'm glad, because I will obviously be undoubtedly helping you through technical things and so forth, but I'm glad that I'm simply not going to have the headache of, because we have the studio, and it's, there's, at the height of it, there was 6 weekly shows being produced out of here, and we were going to add, other things and so forth that just didn't work out. But it's like, having so many different people use this equipment, it's just sometimes it could be like herding cats. Please put everything back the way it was.
Right,
Don't break it. Please don't shut this thing off, because if you do that, the cat, wipes out.
I can't tell you how excited I am to not have to set up the studio every
it
week.
will be yours.
Once it's at my
Yes.
undisclosed location in Central Phoenix.
That's right.
It will be nice to be
Where's
able
the drama
to just.
sound on here?
There's that.
That wasn't what I was.
So once we're there, and I can literally leave everything set up. Al's wine glass can remain in the studio. Katie's snacks or whatever the hell she's bringing.
lights,
and the other nice thing is, in this undisclosed
green light.
location, there's
Yes,
a full kitchen.
Oh.
So we are actually
What a bonus.
entertaining, because we've done guest bartenders who've come in to
Now
the
you're
studio
gonna have
to
a
do that.
personal chef.
Because right now Studio A has a lovely fridge and hi, how you doing? Very busy over there.
Okay, right.
He's just got the juice part going. We're good.
Okay.
Whew.
Right, okay.
No extra
What's this
additives.
bottle, Mom? What's this
Okay,
bottle?
right. Okay.
Save that.
Okay. See, that's why my kids are at home today. Okay,
Because you're going to Roscoe's after this.
Well, right.
For real.
My God.
See.
Celebrate your march on Roscoe's is what you're going to go do on Jesus pieces.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah, good.
But again, it's wonderful that you've given me the opportunity to continue on and take all of this that you've done and you've built and just literally move it. I mean, yes, we built this together,
We
but
built this
that
together.
part, no,
Right.
I'm not there. I was never there.
Right. And until, and for people who are just finding out about this at this point, it's like until we added video, everything was run on iPods and iPads.
Right.
It's quite something. People would walk in and we'd go, "What are you doing here? We're just having it. We're making an Apple store. That's what we're doing."
It almost was, which is why you actually named it Post PC Studios.
Post PC,
obviously, because there was nothing.
There was no PC, and then we added the PC. For
Secretly,
the video.
there is a PC that runs
There is.
that.
That's how I came in though. It was all Apple OS.
That's
Right.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Which initially was an knee-jerk reaction to me because I've been not an anti-Apple person, but until I got this, I was never. This is a 5.
When did you get the 5?
I know.
Oh my
Now,
god!
now I'm an
That's
Apple.
what I
Now
was
I
gonna
go into
say.
A long time.
Color, and you
I mean,
can
I had the
color.
3, the 4, the 4S, and now I've got the 5.
Okay.
But anyway,
Anyways,
I wasn't
yeah.
an Apple person, and I'm still not when it comes to the computer itself.
Right.
I'm still a PC, and I guess that's just because with my day job of restaurant point of sale systems and so forth, we're all PC,
Right.
and I don't mean politically correct because we sure ain't
Yeah.
that.
Okay, for real.
No. But yeah, your show took off. It has been the #1 show on the network ever since it launched.
Which really, I want to say, I'm not surprised at, but I am. Only because I had great hesitation to doing the show. It'd been so long since I'd been to radio, which I grew up in. Remember,
Right.
In a radio.
Right.
I was just really surprised that it took up. But it's not me that does it. It's the cast of my show. Those, which we started out with Buddy Early, the 4 of us doing the show each week. And I just realized that last week was our 70th show. Yeah.
Really?
70th show after. So, I mean, I knew we'd hit a year mark. I knew that. But then all of a sudden I was doing the show numbers because last week was 133. We started at 63, which was our.
Which is the year Michael or George Michael was born?
He's exact. Very good. All right, Dixie. The reason we started with show number 63.
Right.
I thought for 2 reasons. One, it made it appear as though we had been on longer.
Right.
And number 2 was that's the birth year of George Michael. Exactly. That's exactly what I did. Oh, my
Are
Dr.
you
G is.
leaving us?
I gotta go.
He's got to go.
He's going to be out of the
All
house.
right. Dr. G, thank you so very
Thank
much.
you so
all for
much.
having
We
me.
really appreciate it.
Congratulations
Thank
on your
you.
very successful run, and I'm very honored to have been here for the last
Yes,
show.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thanks for joining
It's almost
us.
like getting on the Titanic right as it goes down. Almost.
You invited me to a sinking ship. Thanks.
Great.
Right.
I'm getting on my lifeboat.
And keep in touch with us if you want
Oh, I will,
some,
absolutely.
some
Absolutely.
interaction on youth
Yeah.
and stuff. And
I think
stuff.
that would be awesome.
Contact me.
Definitely.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Take care.
Congratulations. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I'll come and scare you students.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come scare you students.
Please
okay?
do.
All right, I'll do that. Go ahead. Get over there.
Go ahead.
Playing the part of.
Right.
Playing the part of Dr. G.
Right.
Man, I'm
It's
replacing
now
the seat
Dr.
of a
F.
PhD.
Okay.
Oh,
See,
man.
here we go. Okay, that's scary, isn't it?
Which part?
It's like that replacing the
I'm
PhD
replacing a
with-
PhD.
Okay. With a what do you want to say?
I got an AA. I'm working.
Hey,
well,
See,
you're
a
working on it.
bachelor's.
You're working on
That's,
it. That's it.
You got
That's
an
it.
AA?
And you deal and you
Associates of Arts.
Oh, I thought you meant Alcoholics Anonymous. I was like,
What?
that's
No,
what I,
no.
well, that's
I
what I
was gonna
thought.
say it's like
No,
okay, well, why is she drinking?
not yet.
Okay, right.
Because she's
Exactly.
failing at AA is what I'm
Quit
going to
it.
guess.
Quit it.
So, okay, so Dixie, so what's new with you then?
I am working on a column,
Uh-huh.
which will be a regular occurrence for the magazine. Currently, I'm
which
working
Which
on
magazine?
named
Paraphilia. Paraphilia magazine.
All right.
It's known as an art and culture because I rep art and culture
Okay,
right
see?
here, right?
Right there.
So
Art and culture, all of her. Okay, see? That's it.
AC.
That's it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
wait,
I
I
don't
don't know
know.
what that means. I don't know.
I think you're flashing gang signs to people.
Okay.
I could,
I
but
know.
I'm gonna try not to.
All right.
I'm gonna try and not go hood right now.
Okay, we're already there, Jenny.
I know, but because I run their Twitter page,
you already
I'm.
there.
She had to tell me. I was like, "You want orange or purple?" She's like, "Technically, juice is a Welch's grape juice." I was like, "Oh damn! Where I come from, it's orange or grape soda pop."
Okay. See?
She was like, no.
What?
Juice is grape
Grape
Welch's
juice.
juice.
Because what that looks like is it looks
This is Tanqueray
like
and
Tyroli
grape.
wine is what that looks
Right.
like.
Exactly.
Throw some fruit in it. We're drinking sangria.
Okay, sangria.
Sangria.
So see, that's why I said it's truly.
Was that the drinking word? I'm sorry, sangria.
I love it.
By the way, I love your see you next Tuesday. Like, it finally dawned on me when I saw the coffee.
Really?
I love the word cunt.
I'm gonna-
Sorry, there's like kids
Still
playing,
asleep.
but,
Still asleep over there. Wally's one of them.
but I have a 6-year-old who drops the F-bomb like crazy, so
Wow.
seriously.
Hanging with a rough crowd. You got a
No,
6-year-old.
it was so cute though. Like a week ago, we were driving and we saw an accident, and from behind me, I hear, "That was fucking awesome!"
See?
I was like, "That's my boy.
Wow.
See?
That's my boy."
I'd have been like driving like shit. In the snot, like,
Welcome to the future.
there's a reason. There's a big reason I don't have children.
Right.
As long as he ain't playing video games and shooting people up, we're good.
Think about it.
Oh,
Think about it.
Y'all watching
Exactly.
white kids in video games now.
You can't have.
I'm just saying.
Just don't let him sit on his ass all day and play video games ever.
He
That's-
doesn't have a gaming console, actually. He's
Smart.
6
I don't
and
either.
knows
Yeah.
nothing about it.
Right. That reminds me. I'm going to ask you a little bit about people and landlords and things that they do. Just go into that
Oh, girl.
briefly.
You want to talk about the hood we went through last
right,
weekend?
Exactly. Go ahead. Go there.
Yeah, so I found a property that was basically, of course I looked it up online because I love to search public records, and they bought it at bought it at auction. They're already $200,000 upside down in it.
Ouch.
Yeah, it appraised for $500,000 in 2010, and now it's appraising for $100,000 anyways. They were trying to rent me this place, but I noticed there's 4 units and 3 electrical boxes. So, because the place I'm living in currently has an electrical leaching problem, I said to the dude, "Hey, if I rent this place, what's up with the 4 units but 3 boxes?" And he started to tell me, "Well, you know, this one studio, they're going to pay you $50 a month." And I said, "I'm not really comfortable collecting money from somebody I don't know." "Well, maybe we'll knock $50 off your rent." And then I'm like, the high bill was like $500 and the low was like $70. And I'm like, yeah, that's... Anyways, they didn't rent to me because supposedly they rented to another family. And I'm like, well, as long as you dispose of my personally identifiable information, because I work in IT, I'm like, I'm going to drop something I know will get your attention. I'm not interested in renting from you. But they're just playing rape the immigrant, basically.
Right.
Oh, I
nobody-
wasn't sure where we were going with this story.
Yeah, no,
And
it was
if
in.
you-
We should add. This is
This
in the
in the
hood where
hood?
we saw a dead body in the park last
Okay,
weekend.
wait.
Wow.
This is like, okay, if you're talking, okay, you're heading south on Central.
You've
I said,
already-
"Hey,
you-
babe,
what have you
come
done?
check this out with me."
Okay, so we go to check out the hood. We gonna go and check,
Last
and I'm like,
Saturday.
"Oh, it's looking good. Everything's looking all right. Quiet. Nobody's sitting around outside. No,
It's clean.
Major, no major noise. No nothing." And we go around this corner, and all of a sudden we see yellow tape.
Oh, caution tape.
Okay,
And somebody
police
taking a
line.
nap.
Right,
And
police-
somebody taking a nap
Oh, a dirt nap.
and somebody taking a nap.
in a park.
No lights on around this park.
Well, there's
but
no emergency
yellow,
really at
okay?
this point, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so we look. So okay, what do? We go around the other area.
Actually, we
look
go get
all around.
Starbucks and
Right.
we come back.
And we come
Oh my
back
god.
so that we can go back around that area to check it out just to be sure.
Guys still
okay?
napping?
Still napping.
Still napping.
Okay.
They were actually
Leg-
moving the body for lividity at that point. or whatever.
leg up stiff is like stiff. Okay. I said, "Oh, we ain't gotta worry about that one. That one's okay." Okay. Next day, after we both said, "You know what, still that's not too bad. It's way down the street, and there was
It was
nothing
4 miles away.
going on."
And people die anywhere. I mean, it's not like
They die
you
up
could
here.
be-
You
Right,
just
those
don't
we were
necessarily
like-
drive
you could
by
be
them
in
at that moment.
Scottsdale.
Right,
for
and we
God's
were
sake.
like,
It was a hot day.
It could have been heat related.
Sure.
Drunk
And
passes
then-
out in a park.
She contacts me the next day and says, "Guess what? There's energy drainage or going on around." I'm like, "Oh, that we didn't know. We wouldn't have known." And because she called him on it, of course he isn't gonna call her back to say that
No,
you can
Right.
have it.
they were
you
just
know?
investors who
They were
bought a
yeah.
property to flip it.
People in the community. But watch who you rent from, because you never ever
Never
know
know.
what they're doing. You
Check
never
your
ever
electrical
know.
meters.
See, I know. And
Count
it's
units and count meters.
But see, it's like I said, okay, that is
Ghetto.
single, straight, white woman who's checking out her stuff to be sure before she take her family down in the hood.
I guarantee you I make way more than anybody else that's going to rent there.
I know, but he was trying to get.
Oh yeah,
he wanted to
cool.
be sure that
you have
he
papers.
got right. See,
that was my point. They want someone that know habla, and I know that's kind of. I don't know how that sounds, but it's the truth. They're gonna exploit someone, and that offends me.
It did, and she called him out on it. So
yeah, I was like, that offends me.
Well, did you report it to other authorities?
You know what? Because my current landlord, I have the same problem with. I have actually investigated the Landlord-Tenant Act. And there's really nothing I can do. I can take them to civil court if I choose to invest the time and the money. For what? You know what I mean?
I was just thinking in regards to getting the city involved, because obviously if you've got a property,
they don't care. I've tried that where I
really,
I have an electrical room running off of my unit. I called the city and I called APS. They don't care.
Wow.
They do not care. I can literally sue the landlord. And that's all I can do. And the current landlord I have now is a notorious slumlord.
My guess is because it's cable and the way that it not your situation, but I know that if you, like, say you live next door to a friend and that friend has cable service coming to their house and they split it off and you run it to your house,
right?
They will lose their frickin' mind and they will come.
Cable will, yes.
They will.
Electrical so says it ends at their pole. Whatever happens from their pole to the house is the landowner's problem.
Didn't realize that.
Wow.
I know. I called APS. I'm like, hey, I'm getting screwed. They're like, well, you need to take it up with your landlord. Well, I live with a notorious slumlord right now.
This is really not the topic I thought we were going to end the Joe and Babe run on. But
I wanted to insert something electrical here.
Go ahead.
Because, I've been ever since, because I didn't want to pay this enormous deposit
with
under SRP. And so I wound up getting this M-Power thing, which it's inconvenient because you got to go load the power and all this stuff manually and load up money.
Pay as you go.
But it is very cool because you can exactly monitor how much you're using and you can really save money. Now, granted, I've switched all my lighting out for LED. Everything is super efficient. I have this insane thermostat and all that. But it is very impressive to be able to know exactly what you're doing. And my electric bill for the 30 days, I think I posted on Facebook the other day, was about $110 in the middle of the summer.
That's pretty good.
Now, that means running it at 87 until about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. But that was, I
will pay my $400 a month power bill.
Me too.
Thank you.
I'm fine.
I need like 78 all day long.
My goal was how much can 71. How low can it go, and then I'll eventually make some adjustments from there. But it's like not bad. But they need to get on there. They need to get on it and make it so you can load the money on it and so forth remotely, because having to go to these pay stations and so forth with cash is inconvenient.
They have them at Food City.
I'm surprised that they don't have some sort of interaction with like even a PayPal where you literally can transfer the funds to it and within 10 minutes it's loaded.
They said they're working on it. I'm like, you've had this service out for like 13 years. It is 2013, not 1983. Get on
SRP is very behind because they're the ones I contacted and they gave me one price, and when I called them back with the actual meter number, it doubled. And
it's because you got leeches off your power.
Well, right. But they were like,
based on a single household
they still
use.
wanted $275 deposit, and I was like, we had service with you less than a year ago, and you still want a deposit with? Yeah, I agree. I saw Joe's postings on Facebook about that.
All right, we are.
Wait, I have to give a shout out to my friend in Vancouver, British Columbia.
All right, hey. And I want to go to you, Clayton, real quick. I know you got things coming up besides the show on Tuesday. Anything specific that people need to know about that you're involved with this weekend? What's going on?
Not this weekend, but I did just sign up to be entertainment director for next year's gay rodeo.
All right.
I am entertainment director for that.
Are you?
And I had a meeting with, and there's some things in the works. I may become a lot more heavily involved with Gay Pride.
All right.
Yeah, so a couple things. Because I need more things to do.
Of
I
course.
like your postings about
you
Amsterdam,
need something else on your plate, okay?
Right. Yeah, nothing has been confirmed on the Pride thing. We're just talking at this point. But I did agree wholeheartedly to work with Linda Hoffman and be the entertainment director for Arizona Gay Rodeo Association's rodeo in February.
All right.
Fantastic.
And quickly, can you give people a quick update on the Amsterdam thing? What's
I've been
happening?
watching that.
Amsterdam had their run. The gentleman who owns Amsterdam and downtown Palazzo used to own Sanctum.
Yep.
He's just decided he doesn't want to be in the bar business anymore. He owns the land and the buildings, but he doesn't want to be involved in that anymore. So what they did is the people who own Bliss Rebar here in town bought Amsterdam. They closed on the 17th. They took possession of the building yesterday. I was there yesterday pulling out the computer equipment as they're starting renovations. Huge renovations to the interior.
2 months, 60 days to do all
They're
that.
actually opening the 3rd of October. The grand opening is Rainbows Fest weekend, but they're going to open prior to that.
Soft opening,
just to give themselves a couple weeks to get bugs worked out until the grand opening happens. I don't know the name. They're not releasing the name at this point until right before. Yeah, they do have that. But yeah, it's good. The cool thing is, for those of you who've been around the area, remember...
Is that the Amsterdam and Miami combo, or just Amsterdam?
They're walling off Miami. Miami is going to be either absorbed by Palazzo, which is another... That building is all interconnected.
All right.
And the interesting loophole that a lot of people don't realize in regards to a liquor license is... You can have one liquor, if you own that building and all of your establishments, you could have 10 different establishments within a building. They all are under the umbrella of one liquor license, as long as you can access each one within the building.
Wow.
Even if it's a catwalk in the attic. As long as you can
Wow.
Because that's really how you do it. If you go upstairs in Amsterdam, you can walk through a door and you're on a catwalk above Palazzo, and you walk there to get to the offices in the back of the building. So that's now been changed because clearly they're walling off things and changing stuff. But the cool thing is that Jackson, who used to be one of the bartenders at Amsterdam for many, many, many years, and then they went out and did their own thing with Rebar, it's like he's going home, and it's very cool because he's going to get to do with that place what he wanted to do when he was just a regular bartender there.
He's coming home and kicking ass.
Are the other clubs in that complex closing up?
I'm sorry?
Downtown and so forth, are those going away?
As I understand it, no.
Okay.
But I believe they're being sold off to other people. I'm not sure how and what's going on with them because we're not involved with them.
Yeah.
But
just the Amsterdam side.
The first property they sold off was Sanctum, and Stacey Lewis bought that.
Right.
And it's going gangbusters for him in that place.
I, for one, was sad to see the goth club go that I recently had just discovered. But I get it.
I went there with my
but
ex who liked goth stuff, and it was pretty cool.
But
I had little goth boys dance with me there, and I never knew it was a mile from my house. So,
well, one thing I will say is
so much for their advertising.
I think that Stacy is going to do wonderful in that location, and people are talking about it like crazy. So that's one of the things that I think it's a different feel for the Valley. And especially for our community, and I think people have sort of like been looking for that, but I think that it was needed. And
the other cool thing with that, I don't know if you realize this. Remember back when it was Foster's, back in the early 90s,
in the day.
So Jay Foster is behind the bar.
For real?
Absolutely, Jay Foster is there. Yes, absolutely. So it's very cool that he's there. And it's it's been through some transformations over the years, but it's cool to have Jay Foster behind that bar.
Wow, and that whole little corner right now, if you think about it, I think it's wonderful because we've got The Rock, we've got Zone, and now we've got
Stacy's, and then you go to Bunkhouse.
And then you go to Bunkhouse.
Right.
And
but you've also got Offshoot too. It's right there.
Yeah. Offshoot 2 is right. Hey.
Hey.
Okay.
7th Avenue is becoming
Boss Man.
It's the Melrose.
We said that. Okay. All right.
Yes, Boss Man. We said that.
We said that. But I just want to acknowledge again that things are growing and continually changing in the Valley of the Sun. Support your community. Support continually QTalk America.
Correct.
And specifically Clayton and the show. I'm really excited
7
about
to 10
that. 7
Tuesday
to 10
nights, right here on QTalk America.
And I want to give a personal thank you to you, Joe, for inviting me along this wonderful ride for the past few years. It's been fantastic.
It has been fantastic.
Yeah,
and it's even, and I've said this before, I knew you because I met you so long ago, but didn't really know you. And now over 2 years and doing these shows and our power lunches, we're going to continue to do those fun get-togethers. It really has been fantastic, and I just couldn't imagine doing the show with anyone else.
Okay, we'll keep doing this. Okay.
From an undisclosed location.
From an undisclosed location, right?
We might be sitting in our dining rooms and just doing a phone call to each other and recording it, but we will continue doing these.
Kind of how you started.
It kind of was.
Right? Okay.
I started it in
pictures.
I started it in a studio apartment, quote unquote.
Right.
So I think that with that, it's probably time to wrap up. as we're an hour away from a couple last shows of Working It Out's going to continue. They're going to go on hiatus to find a new kind of little recording location. Same thing is happening with the agenda, and they'll be back probably sometime in September as well. The show continues with Clayton McKee. My other shows that I started, Technobabble and Cheer to Eat, Drink, and Be Fabulous, are also going to go on to a non-scheduled hiatus-y sort of thing. And again, check us out on Facebook and Twitter and that whole media, online social media universe. And
I have to give toast to you both for being the first to interview me.
That's right.
You guys are the first to ever give me a voice publicly. And Clayton was part of my dildo sex toys.
Yeah,
Clayton, I can't reach you, but thank you again. I may stop by on Tuesday night for your bookending the beginning and end of this particular studio location with your show.
Oh God, I'm going home to Teen Beach.
So that's you were the first and the last show in this
Actually, that's you're right. I was first.
You
one.
said Roscoe's. I thought chicken. I was like, we're in the wrong city for Roscoe's.
All right, kids,
chicken.
we've got to wrap up. So in our usual style, I'm Joe DeGanzik,
And I'm Babe Kaler.
and this has been the Joe and Babe Show, number 1000 or whatever the heck, and we will talk to you next time, right here on QTalk America.